Well, rest in peace, Packer fans, man. What a heartbreaking, gut wrenching loss yesterday that the Packers had experienced against the Chicago Bears. I had no dog in this fight, man. I just wanted a good game, and that we got. And at halftime, it was 21-3. And I'm in a group chat with my buddies, and I'm saying, guys, I got a feeling, man. I got a feeling the Bears are going to come back. And why is that? Because there's small little details and there's little things that the Packers did that the Bears didn't do that I felt like, man, that's concerning. That's concerning, and vice versa. So let's talk about this game, man, because it was wild. It was an instant classic. It was a complete flip in a rivalry, probably the oldest rivalry in the NFL, Packers Bears. And for the longest time, it wasn't really a rivalry that a lot of us talked about because, frankly, it was one sided, especially in the Aaron Rodgers days where he was just always killing the Bears and talking about being the Bears daddy and blah, blah, blah. But this is a new era in Bears football. It's actually really cool, man. Again, I don't really have a dog in the fight. I think both franchises are cool. Like, I have a lot of respect for both. But it's always nice as an NFL fan in general. Obviously, y'all can see I'm a Bronco fan. But as an NFL fan in general, I love it when teams that have struggled for a long time, franchises that have developed a pretty bad reputation, really start to flip around. Um, and the narrative of like, oh, the Bears are the Bears, or, they're going to bear, or whatever they want to talk about. When that narrative gets flipped, you got to love it when they start to rewrite their own script. And I think that's exactly what Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams have done to this franchise. So that was really cool to see. But where do you go from here if you're a Packers fan? So let's try to give you guys a little bit of context, maybe from someone that's a little bit more neutral and that looks at things at a little bit of a different light. Packers came out hot, man. Jordan Love was on fire. They had themselves a nice 21-3 lead. But there was a key thing that happened. Firstly, the Bears, Ben Johnson, took a lot of flack in the first half. People talking about he's reckless. He's trying to be like too much like Dan Campbell going for these fourth downs. And it was a little bit reckless. But at halftime, he had talked about it. He said, we're trying to maximize our possessions. We're trying to maximize the amount of plays. He's a mathematician. He's a mathematician background. He does a lot of, it's all about statistics for him, which is really a part of the genius that he has. And he just stuck the course. And even the little detail of icing the kicker before half paid big dividends, man. It really did. Like, you look at it, it's either 21-3 or 24-3. Why are you icing the kicker? A lot of people say, I thought it was genius. Why take those timeouts to the half with you? And why not try to at least buy a little bit of points? And the crazy thing is McManus, he hits the kick initially from 55 yards, but they iced him. Then they come back out and he misses it. And that gives you a little bit of life because the Packers were getting the ball in the second half. This is a big key. The Packers were getting the ball in the second half, and they would have had a chance to score 10. But now, worst case scenario, they ended up scoring 7 because of the iced field goal kick, the miss, and they go in there with a little bit of momentum, a little bit of hope. And the best thing happens for them is they get a 3 and out, and now it's a completely different ball game. So the Bears were doing the little things, everything that they could try to do to possibly win the game. They didn't give up. They showed a lot of the fight. And I knew that the Bears were one of those teams. They don't go away, man. Under Ben Johnson, they keep fighting. They keep on trucking along. The crazy thing about the Packers is that they were running the ball and they were throwing the ball. They were really doing whatever they wanted to do in that first half. And they were they ended up averaging 4.3 yards per carry as a team. And for whatever reason, in the second half, they only ran the ball 8 times after running it 15 times in the first half. And when you have a lead like that, that's the last thing that you want to do. You want to keep on running the ball and making sure that you are running it that way. And the Bears, who trailed for most of the game, ended up having 5 more rushing attempts. Even though they weren't nearly as efficient running the football, they kept with the plan. They kept with the script. And this is the classic argument of one team kind of panicking, right? And Matt LeFleur has kind of done this in his career, man, or he's been a part of regimes that do this, right? Let's not forget that he was the quarterback's coach, I believe, in the Falcons' 28-3 debacle in the Super Bowl, where the Patriots came back and beat them after having a 28-3 lead. And he's done this quite a bit in the past. Why panic and why veer off of what's been working? You're a run-heavy team. You're a team that leans on running the football to open up the pass, the play action, and that they completely went away from that in the second half in a game in which they were leading. So really mind-blowing. And not only that, they win the turnover battle against the team that led the NFL in the turnover battle at plus 22. So they had a lot of things going for them, and they found a way to lose. Brandon McManus, the kicker, didn't help. We know about him here in Denver. He was pretty clutch for a little bit of a time frame here in Denver, but it's it's a mind blowing type of a loss. So you can look at the Packers and say they did a lot of things to lose this game, and you would be right. And then you got to flip it on the Bears and say, man, the Bears made plays. The Bears made plays. They continued to stay with it. They had long drives. They ended up taking control back of the game and capitalizing. None bigger than the 4th and 10, just absolute jump man type of throw. Something really special from Caleb Williams that he really showed. And you look at Caleb Williams overall, man, and it's funny because he was 24 of 48, completed 50% of his passes. It's not all that good. He had 2 touchdowns, 361 yards. That's good. But he also had 2 interceptions that were terrible. So he had the most up and down game that you could possibly have. But when it mattered the most, he was out there and he made plays. And it was shocking. It was shocking the way that Green Bay consistently did not know how to manage the clock. You know, I was looking at it late in the game. They end up throwing these balls instead of running and forcing the Bears to take their timeouts and take as much time off the clock. They're being aggressive in their throwing. I don't know why that was the case. The penalties were hurting them. It was an insane game. It truly, truly was an insane game. But again, the play from Caleb Williams was special on the completion to Rome Odunze to keep that drive going on 4th down. Because the crazy thing is that play call was called for Colson Loveland across the middle to the right part of the field, and he was wide open. But he had pressure in his face. Packers did a really good job of taking that away, and they rushed Caleb Williams, and they forced him left. And he makes an impossible play at a time to be able to keep the drive going and ultimately win the game for him. This is playoff football, man. This is what makes these games so much fun, is that the big-time players and big-time moments make the plays, and that's exactly what Caleb Williams did. And shout out to Colson Loveland too, man. Loved him coming out of the draft. Everybody in Broncos country was praying for him to be available at 20. He wasn't at all. He was gone at 10. And he really showed why. And he's really come on really well for the Bears in the second half of the season. But man, 8 catches, 137 yards. He was a beast. He looked like a man among boys. He's going to be a special player. And this Chicago team is going to be special for a while. They really are. They are loaded with talent. And they've got a lot of draft picks. They've got a lot of capital to continue to keep on building. Build around Caleb Williams in the offensive line in the draft is what I would look at. And also on the defensive side of the ball to maybe get a little bit better pass rushers, because they do struggle a little bit in the pass rush. But we'll see, man. I think sky's the limit for this Bears team. And they're going to continue to have games at home at least for one more round before the championship game. And they're fun. They're really, really fun to watch. So kudos to the Bears. If you're a Packer fan, man, let's talk about it. This is a gut-wrenching loss in every sense of the word. Where do you go from here? What's the temperature like with Matt LeFleur? I've always been someone that's liked Matt LeFleur. I thought he was a pretty underrated coach in a certain aspect. But yesterday was bad, man. Where do you go from here with him? Do you look at making a change? The Packers aren't typically a franchise that make those emotional decisions. They like to have some continuity. But where do you go from here, man? You went all in on this year. You traded a couple of first-rounders to get Micah Parsons. You signed him to a big deal. Obviously, very unfortunate that he got hurt. We'll see if he's able to even come back next year or when he's able to come back next season, because I think he will, but it might be a little bit later on. Who knows, man? They've got a lot of talent on this team. The Packers truly do. But they need to figure something out in terms of getting more playmakers. Right? They've got a lot of solid players. It's kind of like what I'm feeling about the Broncos, right? At least on the offensive side of the ball. On defense, the Broncos have a lot more playmakers than the Packers do. But on offense, you've got a lot of solid guys, but you don't have that alpha, right? You don't have that Colston Loveland, what he showed yesterday, right? You don't have that combination of DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai to go out there and make plays, or that Rome Odunze, who, even though he was very hurt yesterday, made a lot of big plays in big moments. So where do you go from here if you're the Packers? It's going to be interesting to see. Do they need a new voice in the room? Does somebody like John Harbaugh, who I think would absolutely pounce on the job in Green Bay before any job, if that became available. You kick the tires on that. I guess we're going to see. But this is what makes playoff football so fun, man. I really enjoyed it. And I'm excited to see where these two teams go. I think this rivalry is just the real rivalry between these two teams has just really started this year. I think it's going to be something that's really fun for NFL fans to follow in the years to come. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the slate of games on today. Probably most excited about the Bills and Jags game. I think that's going to be fun. That's a potential rivalry, big time rivalry moving forward, right? We know the Bills got a rivalry with the Ravens, with Lamar and Josh Allen, obviously with the Chiefs, with Mahomes and Josh Allen. That's kind of been the new age Brady and Manning. But this has a potential to be something big too. And I think today's game, the first slate of games with the Bills and the Jags, is going to be something special. And then, moving on to, I mean, all these games are going to be good. The Niners Eagles game is going to be entertaining, and then tonight's game with Drake May and the Patriots playing against the Chargers and Justin Herbert is going to be a really fun one too. So I'm excited. But again, guys, it's all about the smallest details. It's about doing the little things correctly to win these games. You even look at the other game yesterday, right, with the Rams and the Panthers, a surprisingly really close game. The Panthers really put up a hell of a fight and showed and proved the NFL wrong that they did deserve to be in the playoffs. Even though they didn't get in there in the traditional way, the fight and the grit that they showed, I thought was impressive. I think Dave Canales has got that team on the right path. Is Bryce Young the right fit in the franchise quarterback there? That's definitely still to be determined. But they've got some good things cooking there. But again, what did the good teams do? What did the better team do yesterday? They did the small things right. They had the clutch players to be able to go out there and make just enough plays to be able to get the win there with the Rams. And the Rams are going to be a dangerous team moving forward as well. So this is fun, man. This is fun. But this is when truly the best coaches and the best quarterbacks come to shine. And you saw that yesterday because Jordan Love played super well. If you would have told me Jordan Love was going to go 24 of 46, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 picks, and only be sacked one time, I'd have said there's no chance the Packers lose the game. But they did. They did because the coach decided to go conservative at the wrong times, and he decided to go aggressive at the wrong times as well. Mind-blowing stuff. Mind-blowing stuff to me. So definitely, I pin this loss for sure on Matt LeFleur and the coaching staff. I really do. Because even though there was a lot of unbelievable plays that Caleb Williams made and calls that Ben Johnson made, they were only so big because of the lack of attention to detail that Matt LeFleur and this coaching staff made. I mean, you're talking about being aggressive and not running the ball when you have a nice, comfortable lead, getting out of what your offensive identity is. And then in the times where you really do need to be conservative, you need to try to kill some clock, put yourself in a better position to be able to, kick a more manageable field goal. You don't do that. The clock stops. Then you conserve a timeout for the Bears, and you end up putting yourself in a situation where you're kicking a 44-yarder, right? Listen, he still should have made it, but it could have been a much better kick and a much easier kick than 44 yards. Very similar shades to, the kick that the Ravens had against the Steelers, right? They became a little bit ultra-conservative there. And instead of giving the ball to Derrick Henry and trying to get 5 or 6 more yards, they just down the ball, go back to go on the right hash, and ironically miss the kick to the right. So it's the small little details coaches overthink. Kind of mind-blowing. So excited about this, but Packer fan, Bears fan, let me know how you guys feeling down below. And what do you want to see if you're a Packers fan? Where do you want to see your team go in the draft and in the offseason specifically moving forward? Because you don't really have a lot of draft picks, or at least the premium ones. You've given those up for Micah Parsons. So how do you build this team, and what do you need to see to be able to move forward, whether it's a coaching change, whether it's specific free agents? I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are. But great game overall, man. Historic, something that we're going to be looking back on and saying, that was a lot of fun, and it could have a major impact as to who ends up winning the Super Bowl, obviously, this year. So curious what you guys' thoughts are, man. Let's enjoy today's slates of game, and y'all take it easy, man. Peace out.